We do have staff and personnel here, so if you have any questions about any item on the consent agenda or any item on the in the meeting, just stop me, and Mr. Chambers and his staff will be happy to answer those questions. So we'll start with 1.1. This will be the call to order by the chairman. So item 2 will be the approval of the agenda. 2.1, changes to agenda and approval of agenda. Section 3, we do have one recognition, and this is proclamation to designate the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And we have no visitors scheduled. 5.1, administrative personnel appointments, and we will have one 5.1, the appointment of assistant principal 2, 12-month, Destin Middle School. And then section 6 is public comment. 6.1, members of the public desiring to address the school board form MIS 5241, public input and or discussion of agenda items. Section 7 is committee and staff reports. 7.1 is in-county travel paid for the period of August 4th through the 24th, 2022. 7.2 is out-of-county travel paid for the period of August 4th through the 24th, 2022. And 7.3, quarterly report service agreements under the $5,000 threshold for internal and budgetary funds. And 7.4, adjusted fixed asset inventory based on increase of the asset capitalization threshold from $1,000 to $5,000 effective July 1st, 2022. So now we'll move to section 8. This is the consent agenda. 8.1 will be the approval of the consent agenda. 8.2, approval of the minutes of the workshop meeting of August 18th, 2022. Minutes of regular meeting of August 22nd, 2022. 8.3, appropriation of District 1 School Board member capital outlay funds to Pryor Middle School for classroom furniture in the amount of $7,980.80, presented by Dr. Lamar White. 8.4, appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Pryor Middle School for classroom furniture in the amount of $7,000, presented by Ms. Linda Vanchek. 8.5, appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Shoal River Middle School for classroom projectors in the amount of $3,990, presented by Ms. Linda Vanchek. 8.6, request to advertise a public hearing for the adoption of revised School Board Policy 02-17, purchasing procedures. 8.7, Superintendent's Annual Financial Report and Program Cost Report for year ended June 30th, 2022.
You know, I was interesting that I was reading through the agenda, then all of a sudden received something from the Florida School Board Association saying that there is a fine, a daily fine for this not to be submitted on time, but then it also went on to say that failure to pay could be the removal of public office or employment. So thank you for putting things, as always, having things submitted in a timely manner. I'm sure we all appreciate that right there. So, but nicely done, as always.
Julie's looking surprised.
Like what? No, I read that and I'm going, okay, let's look at the dates on this. Okay, we're
Just
good.
go with it, Julie, like you.
No,
Yeah,
we're
I
good,
saved
Julie.
y'all.
I do. I wrote, made myself a little note right here, so thank you.
All right, 8.8, application for impact aid under PL 81-874 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023, naming the authorized representative and core user account signer. 8.9, budget amendment number 11, fiscal year 2021 through 2022. 8.10, revised monthly financial statement for June 2022. 8.11, invoices to be approved for payment. 8.12, school.
Time out.
Yes, ma'am.
Back on 11. Okay.
Okay.
On the, I'm a little concerned about the number of board bills we're starting to see again. And I don't know if that's because we're getting going again, through the summer, but I just am concerned about these bills. And there's, now a couple came from schools, and I saw that, but there seems to be quite a few, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, but in the maintenance department. And is that just kind of the way of the world because of the way it's billed, or
I think there was some confusion at year end where we had some, like a retired employee at one point closed out a PO
Okay.
and
Right.
didn't realize there were more invoices, so that's what most of those are just some POs being closed a little too early.
Right.
It's-
Okay.
And, you know, so they're, and it just all happened at
That's
one
what I
time, because
read
we've been really
also.
clean.
It-
Right.
It
these
has.
last-
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
what I read, that an employee retired, you had a new
Mhm.
person, and so there was that,
Right.
she
Yes.
closed it off, and then there was that purchase, and then as a new person
Yes,
came
they didn't
in, so-
realize that, they thought they
But
were
they do
done with the
now.
PO, so they closed it.
Uh-huh.
But I was looking on here, there's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 15 or so under custodial.
And that's all this stuff.
So, okay,
That's it.
Right.
so that's not typical.
And they're
Right.
little $14
Right.
things, those
Right.
like mop service,
So-
where they're buying mops. No, that's not typical. They
Yeah.
just, that was
So
an
that's what I was
accident,
wondering,
yeah.
just,
And
so,
they, like I said, they did have a PO
Right.
for that company.
So,
okay.
They,
so real quick, with Ms. Vancheck bringing this up, can you explain what the board bills process is, why that comes to us?
Sure,
So-
we always, we have, when we make a purchase, it's either going to be through a purchase order, through a contract, or through a district Visa card. If one of those methods does not happen, then we do not pay the bill unless it is approved by the board.
Right.
So that way, nothing is paid without one of those methods. And we always ask the person that's submitting the board bill to tell us why. And those are, so.
But I did see one that, where a principal said, I didn't know that's how you did it, you know, in the explanation. So I'm just making sure that, and I know we have a lot of new administrators, so I'm just making sure that the process.
And they are, yeah, where they talk to them and they explain things and to make sure that this
Because
doesn't
our
happen
goal
again
is
in
to
the future.
not have board bills, really,
Correct.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right.
And I will just say that in previous meetings that we've had, as far as our agenda meetings go, I know Ms. Perry has said that, you know, when those little things come up, they reach out to those people just to make sure they understand the process, so it
So-
doesn't come up there, because like you said, there's new people or people just didn't understand the process and all that, so, and they are typically small amounts, but, you know, every once in a while you get one that's a little bigger than the other, but I did appreciate the fact that you said that you do reach out to these folks when, especially when they put an explanation that's kind of like, okay, so if they didn't understand, let's help them understand the process.
It's a good opportunity
do.
for training or
Yes.
retraining.
Yes,
Yes.
yep, all right.
And that, this isn't for Julie, but there's also, I think this is where I saw, was there one for something about portables, moving some portables and getting them set up?
Two,
Yeah.
I concur.
And so I was just curious about that, because it was something like 23 portables that we had to move for construction purposes, is what I read. And so I was just curious about that, because it seems like portables cost us a lot in moving them, keeping them. And I know we would love to be out of the portable business if we could, but
I know it's like Bob Sykes and Laurel Hill, we moved, and then Elliott Point did a big shift over there, so.
Absolutely, and so all of those portable movements, and not referring to these two specifically, I have to research those, all those portable movements are part of the COP that the board approved for all of the capital construction projects. So where there's a multipurpose building going in, or where there's a cafetorium going in, we look at that from a long-term perspective of where's the best place to put that on campus, and it may be where current portables are sitting. And so those have to be moved to make way for the construction. Now, so all the cost of that is included in the COP issuance that the board approved, that Jacobs Titan is overseeing.
but then why is there's the bill to move the portables, then you've got CACI going over and getting them fitted up with, I guess, the internet and all the phones. and-
Correct. So I have
So
to
there's
look into
another
what-
bill.
I'll have to look into what happened here with these two specific schools and report back to you. But all of that hookup cost and everything to get the portables relocated and set up and operational all falls under the COP.
Right.
So all of this right here, we're approving, because this is quite a bit of
It-
money to move these 23 portables this summer?
If these are, yes, ma'am, that piece of it is not all of that cost.
Right.
Okay.
All that cost has already been approved through the task order and the GMP that Jacobs Titan gave us.
Okay, so we've already
Yes,
approved
ma'am.
that overall
Yes,
umbrella
ma'am.
amount for that to come under
Yes, ma'am.
that? Okay,
So
all
I'll have
right.
to report back to you
That's good,
on-
so it's not
And-
incurring additional costs for us?
Correct. They've
Okay.
given us a GMP to do all this construction program. It includes the moving of the portables and
Okay.
setting up of the portables.
Okay, great, all right, just seemed like a lot, for one summer there, but,
Well, there's a lot, yes, ma'am, there's a lot of construction
right.
ongoing.
Okay,
And so,
makes-
in some cases, we've had to move 3 or 4 portables at a school to set them up to where the construction can take place.
sure, okay, thank you
And
for that
This was
explanation.
Destin Middle School and Ruckle Middle School.
They were the ones I think
Right,
that were
Right.
moved
So
before they
Destin
were
Middle School
told.
got a portable.
Right.
But it was not set up there in lieu of construction at that site. So I have to do some research on it and get back with you on it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
okay, thank you.
Item 8.11, any more discussion? Thank you, Ms. Vancheck. Thank you, Ms. Perry and Mr. Horton. So now we'll move down to 8.12, school donations.
I'd just like to say on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, to thank all of those people in the community who donate to our schools so generously. And as a former principal, I know Ms. Gardner, you can appreciate this too, and Superintendent Chambers, especially those people who donate those large amounts to discretionary, because principals don't have a lot of that money with no strings attached. So that is very enabling to do things at the school-based level to help people in ways that you might not necessarily think of at the top. So thank
Yeah.
you.
And also, it's not just our parents that are doing it. These are our community
That's
people
right.
that
Business
want to
leaders.
support the schools. They're proud of the schools, and they want to see our schools do well, and they're supporting these students. So
Exactly.
we do also appreciate our community and all that's done to make our schools what they are.
And on this particular agenda, there's a significant amount of
I'm
dollars that
telling
are
some
coming in.
big donations, wow,
So-
very good.
So, and you're right, we appreciate all of our community supporters here. All right, so now we'll move down to 8.13, sole source purchase over $25,000, Scholastic. 8.14, sole source purchase over $25,000, Edmentum. 8.15, sole source purchase over $25,000, Explore Learning. 8.16, ITB 23-01, UV-C, Virus Kill Systems. 8.17, ITB 23-02, Indoor Air Quality Remediation.
And I see that that was Mr. Bolton, so maybe Dr. Smith might want to just explain how, I saw that Roy Curtis was the one that we awarded the contract to, and he's been a great vendor with us, about how we use this system, if an employee's having any type of problem with air quality, have concerns, exactly what we do here with this.
And Dr. Smith, while you're coming up, since we're talking about indoor air quality, we might as well go ahead and talk about the previous one, the virus kill
I was
systems too.
gonna
Yeah.
Yeah.
so-
I was just asking Vince about the virus kill system. I don't know anything about it. Matter of fact, when you mentioned my name, that's what I was doing.
I know,
This particular bid is a multiple award. The previous bid was not a multiple award. Some of the times when we request to have a room remediated, there's a time-sensitive thing there that we want it done as quick as possible. So now we have 2 vendors that can address those issues, and this is a new renewal of an existing contract.
Right.
But an individual, if they're having concerns with their classroom, we do have some type of a policy form that they can submit maybe to the principal? How does that?
There's an MIS form, basically an indoor air quality form. It's online. Each school has it. The individual, whether it's a student, parent, teacher, any employee, can fill the form out. It's signed by the site administrator, which is usually the principal. Then it comes to us. We review it. We go do a site visit. We look and see what needs to be done. We're actually looking for the source of why it happened, and then do a cleanup. Once we get the source of why it happened, then we do a cleanup and remediate it and get it back in use.
And I appreciate that. I know there's been some questions on this, but we do have something in place. And again, we've worked with Mr. Curtis for many years, and he's always done in his company an outstanding job.
Yes.
And, but thank you. I
Yes,
mean, I
but
did
the
think
form
it could
starts the
change, but-
process. You fill the form out, it starts the process.
Exactly. But
Okay.
there is something in place that we've had in place for years that
Yes.
individuals can have.
Actually
air
been in place
quality.
since about 98.
In place.
And I see Mr. Horton is coming up right behind you, so I think we'll get an explanation on on the one item there, so.
Yeah, so we were doing some investigation back when COVID was kind of prevalent in our district, and we found some certain products that we thought might have benefit longer term. So the agenda item that Ms. Gardner was referring to is actually it's not a chemical system or anything like that, it's a lighting system, and it goes in place of one of these panel lights in a classroom. And what it does is it hooks into the electrical of the lighting, but it provides kind of a high-tech air purifier, if you will, that passes air through a UV light filter, and it reduces. And so we've used a couple of those in certain circumstances across the district and found pretty good results with them. But this was an invitation to bid so that we could put this particular vendor on our contractor list and maybe do more purchasing with. So it's not that we're in a position right now to put one of these in every classroom in the district, obviously, because they're relatively expensive. I think $2,000 to $3,000 per item. But it's a tool and a resource that we can use to continue to improve air quality and any virus particles that are in the airs in our classrooms. And we want to be able to bring this to the board to start looking at that in schools across the district.
So it's a portable device that
Well,
you said they can?
you essentially, in a classroom like this, you take one of these light panels that are here
Right.
and you remove it, and you put this in its place.
Okay.
And it connects to the electrical that the lighting would connect
Right.
to, and it just operates kind of seamlessly and out of sight. It's not something that you've got to go in and.
Like an
you
air
know,
purifier,
where you-
I
Yeah,
mean,
where you've got to
it's-
pull the water out and drain that and
Right.
dehumidifier, those sorts of things. So it's something that we looked at and think there might be an application for it for us going forward.
New technology, sounds
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Good.
And so while you're up here, if you don't mind, we had in our last board meeting, we had a concerned
And that's what yeah.
person come
Yep.
about a portable in that condition. While we're on this topic, do you mind going ahead and giving us a
Absolutely.
status of that situation, please, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I followed up with that gentleman the night of the board workshop and was out at the school the next day. The contractor who does our portable work was finishing up at Elliott Point where they had moved portables and was headed to Bob Sykes. So the repair work has been done on that portable. We've also done an air quality test on it. Still waiting on the results of those. But we're also going to be replacing the sheetrock in one of the walls and doing some more work. So the teacher, it wasn't a classroom, it was a pull-out place where a teacher might pull some students in for work. That teacher's been relocated to another spot in the school for this time, and I actually went up and met with her. And so we're progressing to make sure that portable's ready to go.
Okay.
But I was on site the following day.
Thank you very
I
much.
was
for
always
getting on
worried
that.
about the carpet, I'm sorry, the
Okay.
carpet in those,
Yeah.
because moving them and with age and humidity, and we know how bacteria sits in carpet, that's what and I know it's not a big piece of carpet if we ever have to replace it, but if there's any type of way that we're looking at how long that carpet's been there, or.
Yep, and it would have been interesting for maybe to come up and visit that particular portable that week. I went into it and there was nothing observable, and obviously I'm not the indoor air quality expert, but there was nothing observable on the inside that suggested it was not safe, but we certainly want to do our due diligence
Oh,
to make sure
absolutely.
we do everything we need to.
Right.
And we'll-
And I was
we'll
just
look
talking
at it.
in general, carpet
Yep.
and some of these portables that have been around for a while, and they do sit exposed.
Yes, ma'am.
Some during the summers
Well,
and.
so I've asked our staff to make sure we've got a process by which we're reviewing these portables at least annually, if not twice a year, for those sorts of things that you're just speaking of, and making sure, because we all know that even with new school construction that's being planned, and even with classroom additions, we probably can't remove every portable from the district. And in fact, I was in Gainesville this past weekend and drove by dozens of elementary schools, and in every one I saw portables lined up outside. It's a fact of life. Walton County has some, Santa Rosa County has some, and so we want to reduce the number, but the ones that we do have, we want to make sure they're quality.
Sure.
And they work for kids and teachers.
I don't think we'll ever be out of the portable business as much as we would like to be, but we see
Right.
new schools being built, and then there will be 2 or 3 portables out there.
Right,
They
right.
just, we try, and, but
Yep.
we appreciate the growth.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's see here. 8.18 is tag on bid purchase over $25,000, Apple Store for Education Institution. 8.19, tag on bid purchase over $25,000, Granger.
What is that? What is that we're buying there? I just was reading through it and I still couldn't figure out what it is. It's a lot of money, but it's,
I know it's Vince's item, but it really goes to Okaloosa Technical College for
Right.
buying welders and welding machines.
oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. We're basically re-upping all of our machines. We're in the process of trying to grow out and honestly to make our site a testing facility in time. So this would put us closer to that.
Okay, so this says it's a wireless foot control something.
Right, welders.
So it must
welding
be something,
machines,
yeah,
you know,
that
where
they
you're
use.
touching.
Okay, so there's two different pieces there, okay. All right, I was just curious exactly what it was. That's great that they're upgrading and all that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so 8.20 is tag-on bid purchase over $25,000, Allen J Fleet Sales. And if you see there, there's some vehicles we're going to be purchasing.
That's good.
8.21, tag-on bid purchase over $25,000, WTI. 8.22, tag-on bid purchase over $25,000, Dakin. 8.23, renewal of ITB 20-01, epoxy flooring, DW. 8.24, service agreement number 23-64, Matthew Fossa. 8.25, service agreement number 23-65, Kiara Watson. 8.26, service agreement number 23-67, Ann Lefford. 8.27, service agreement number 23-70, Chrissy Miller. 8.28, service agreement number 23-75, Ann Lefford. 8.29, service agreement number 23-76, Wayne Whitman. 8.30, request to change for PO number 23000019 to Bay District Schools. And real quick, when we do something like this, can we explain why we are doing this, switching it to, because people are going to see Bay District Schools on here, so I'm hoping maybe we can explain that so people would understand why we're doing that.
Well, first of all, we're actually contracting with Beacon, which is a part of Bay County Schools.
Okay.
And they, from what I understand, they do a lot of professional services,
Okay.
that kind of
Professional
thing.
developments.
decades.
We've
Right.
used them for years
Right.
and
Long time.
excellent training
Right.
programs.
And what this is we've already taken a board item
Mhm.
earlier where they purchased these services and then they've added this many on. So we had a large change order. So I brought that back to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, the amount went up quite a bit.
Quite a
Right.
bit,
Yeah.
right.
Well,
Many
and,
more courses were added to their catalog of
Right.
professional development offerings.
Right.
and when we see items like this on an agenda, try to help explain to people who might just look at the agenda and they might not realize, why would we be doing something with Bay District Schools?
Right.
And, by you coming up here and explaining that will help,
And I know
hopefully.
they've been in place for years. 'cause
Yes.
I remember
Yeah.
Beacon from
Yes, sir.
a long time
Yes,
ago.
We're taking
Right.
some
I
courses.
think
Yep.
our reading endorsement classes, teachers
Went
that
through
want the
there.
reading endorsement can do these online courses.
Right.
Probably ES,
ESOL.
yeah, as
Right.
well. Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just for your information, this is also a critical component to our PDCP program that we've begun to get our temporary certification teachers trained more quickly and cost-effective
okay.
to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Big-
good.
big-
So we've had to add, that's why the cost is up, is we've had to add,
Everything is gone up.
Right.
I don't necessarily think that the cost went up as much as it's a renewal. We're
or
just
just
utilizing
adding,
it
yeah.
more.
Mhm. Gotcha.
All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Harrell. Thank you, Mr. Wyndham.
Yep.
All right, so 8.31, Biggs Inspiring Scholastic Success Grant Interagency Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida, and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Northwest Florida.
Good program.
8.32, Reading Pals Memorandum of Understanding between United Way, Emerald Coast, and the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida. 8.33, Contract Lease Renewal Agreement and Amendment to Contract C08-1671-LIB between the Okaloosa County Board of County Commissioners and the School Board of Okaloosa County for the Library Cooperative Courier Services. And 8.34, proposal for the second amendment to the medical office building lease between Fort Walton Beach, Florida, or between Fort Walton Beach Medical Center Incorporated and the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida for the Health Academy of Okaloosa County.
I'm sorry. Could we go back to that 33
Sure.
about the library? I know that's the courier thing, but don't we also have that inter-exchange on books through all that? And so with that and the new policies on materials, how is that affecting that agreement there with
So
our
this-
county libraries?
Yes, ma'am. This particular agreement simply tasks the school district couriers with moving books between libraries. So we're not taking books from libraries to schools or
Okay.
vice versa. So we're just helping along with those folks. And you know, we even talked about, the folks might ask, well, what about an increase in cost because gas prices have gone up? And they've come back down, and so we believe
Yeah.
that that's an appropriate amount for that arrangement. So it's not such that they're moving books from libraries to schools. It's just between the libraries and the county.
Okay, so we don't, so like if I'm at a school, I don't get a book from a county library and bring it to the school? You can't still do that?
Not to my knowledge, but
Okay,
I'd probably
okay.
defer to the media specialist or Dr. Kelly.
I was just going to say, when this was first put into place, it was a goodwill effort.
Right.
To help the cooperatives, since we're driving by there anyway with our
Right.
courier services,
Mhm.
just to help them get things between their members.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it doesn't go to
No,
our
right.
schools? Okay, I misunderstood. All right,
It's
thank
the
you.
public
Yes.
libraries.
Okay.
All right. We'll see, we just did 8.34. And if y'all have had an opportunity to go over to the building that we're talking about in 8.34, it's going to be awesome once
nice.
they're done with it, so.
Mhm, very good.
Yes. 8.35, School Health Services Plan for 2022 through 2024. 8.36, request approval to submit a grant application for the American Rescue Plan, ARP, and Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund, ESSER, Intensive After School and Weekend Academies Grant. 8.37, request approval to submit a grant application for the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation, CRRSA Act, ESSER 2 Supplemental Programming Grant.
Okay, so is this for remedial things, this grant to do after school and weekend? Is that Mr. Gore? Or-
So this is yet another grant that has come from the state, and
Okay,
all for the purpose of doing a lot of remediation, whether it be during the school day or after
On
the school day as
weekends.
well.
Yeah, and I had a question, thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
Because I saw we're providing transportation, snacks, after-school weekends, so if we just have a little more
Right. So-
information on,
So,
sounds,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
And there's Ryan, okay.
Okay.
You.
So real quick, 8.38 is also going to be tied into, so let me read that real quick, and then you can just tie that all in
Okay.
there real quick. 8.38, request approval to submit a grant application for the American Rescue Plan and Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund Supplemental Programming Grant. So now we can answer all those questions.
So, excuse me, because I don't have a voice, but all of these grants, there are 3 new grants that came about a week ago. So all of them are very specific to tutoring, remediation, those sorts of things. We're also in the process of starting to monitor some of the original grants. So you're going to see those keep coming back as we submit and shift funding in those grants as well.
so are we looking at specific, I'm going to talk about 8.36, specific schools, or are we looking at,
It's all schools.
oh, all schools? Okay,
So remember, these ESSER grants are across the board, so it's all about learning loss. So
Right.
these new ESSER grants that have come, a lot of the focus is on after-school tutoring. It's about tutoring that occurs during the school day. So what are those extra remedial efforts that we're putting into place in order to close that gap in terms of learning loss that may have occurred during the pandemic? So we anticipate that this probably won't be the last ESSER grant that'll come. And as you know, Mr. Gore right now is the one who's over ESSER grants. Amy Dale did a great job, and that shifted to Mr.
And
Gore.
he can speak, I think.
And of course,
He probably dreams about ESSER every night, don't you?
Is that dreaming or nightmares? But I
And of
also
course,
saw
he
this-
will do, like Mrs. Lightbourne said, he'll make sure that we're monitoring the ESSER 1, the 2, the 3, as well as the many others, to make sure that we're submitting to the state the documents that we need to ensure that all of this is occurring. So this is
Huge.
almost a full-time task in terms of keeping up with ESSER.
A lot of
So,
documentations.
Mr. Gore, so when you submit these, it's not a matter of, they might choose us, we're going to get it if we meet the letter of the specifications, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's
Okay.
correct. The money's already been allocated by county And so we're requesting permission.
We're just
Letting you
requesting
know that
it.
we are going to
Mhm.
request that money to come to us. We'll submit the application. They may request revisions to narrative or tasks. Usually they're minor in scope and what they want us to do. But as Superintendent Chambers stated, it is designed for learning loss. So it's all schools, but it's targeted at a certain population of students.
Okay.
So if you're needing remediation,
Oh,
additional help, additional tutoring, think of it as an expanded plan of care, for lack of a better term.
Right.
That's how I think about it to
Right.
make it make sense.
And so, who will be doing this tutoring?
I'll venture to say it's going to be teachers that we hire at the schools. I believe there could be outside community members, subs. So we're in the process of
As well
gathering
as
that
retired
information.
teachers, we're
Right,
also
right.
targeting retired
So
teachers.
what I
who've
was
been
getting
out.
at is that I've been approached about how we changed these tutors as listed as subs, and we went from the hourly rate on subs went down, right? So that's what I'm concerned is that, didn't we change the rate down on these tutors per hour?
Yes, ma'am. For the 21-22 school year, we had increased the daily rate, which impacted the
Right.
hourly rate. And so as we started the school year, we went back to $15 per hour for all daily subs, and so that would be the hourly rate for substitutes right now.
And that would be the same if they're coming in as a tutor for this and under this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just saying, now that we have these funds, could we not leave that rate at a higher rate? I don't know what the funding covers, so,
Well, that's something that we could look at,
We
but I
could
think
look
we
at,
have to
okay.
also be careful in terms of the hourly rates that we do for one set of employees
that's
versus
true.
what we do for another set.
okay, gotcha, I'm just curious, okay. But this, all right, so, this is, so there's really 3 different grants, right?
Correct.
Okay, but they're all basically for the same function of remediation or getting students back on track?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you, good
And
stuff.
I'd just like to say thank you to the district staff who has
Yeah.
to have their hands in this constantly, because in the past, I was in charge of some of these grants that were non-competitive but were in cycles, so you have to give those monitoring and update reports in order to get a drawdown draft of the funds that are sitting there for you. You just have to constantly be measuring and be accountable for those funds, so thank you for that. That's surely a full-time job.
Yes, it
Like the
is.
superintendent said, so thank you.
So, yeah.
Can I, one more question. On the weekends,
So that's an option if
Okay.
a school wants to do it. Currently, we have tutoring at Opportunity Place
okay.
and at Children in Crisis. So we
Oh,
have
good.
tutoring the
Mhm. That's
community.
good.
Dr. Seals is working on Boys and Girls Club and be able to provide tutoring in those locations. So we're trying to provide tutoring in non-traditional settings as well as traditional settings, and we have the ability to do that with these grants. So we wanted to make that a broad spectrum so that those things can also fit in it.
So
Oh,
it's
that's
an
fabulous.
option- It's optional to the school. I just, I go back and think about how difficult it was sometimes students are tired at the end of the day. They have baseball and cheerleading, and sometimes they didn't want to stay. But having the weekend maybe as a possibility, like
It
you
is,
just said.
it is an
just-
option. We have tried it in the past.
Okay.
Many schools have tried it in the past, some with success, others not.
Mhm.
So,
It's worth a try.
yeah.
Trying to reach them any way we
Mhm.
can. so.
Every way we can reach them, we're
Nice
trying to
job.
reach 'em.
I think
Nice
that's
job.
great that we're going out to other services rather than just on our school sites.
Yes.
That's a good opportunity for those students.
And I did want to say, finance and purchasing, along with Ryan and his new secretary, are doing a phenomenal job in keeping up with all of this.
Yeah.
We're writing the grants and we're getting things, but it's curriculum, it's
It's a team.
people, there's a lot of different things that happen with it. And so it's all the departments working together, or we wouldn't be able to.
And the state kind of
manage
throws it at you and says, get it done here.
in
right?
a week.
In
yeah.
In a week,
I was
yeah.
gonna say, this is
Well-
all done
Unbelievable.
quickly.
And that's what I was going to ask Mr. Gore here, was that this is a federal program that got filtered down to the state. And he mentioned that he had to request permission to, for this. So I think it's interesting to show the people where it starts out. And by the time it gets to us, it's already gone through so much bureaucratic hoops for us to even ask for permission to use it for what it's intended for. So, and I agree, Ms. Lightborn, everybody has worked great together to help get these funds to us and appropriately too.
Appreciate it very much. It's great for
Yep.
students.
Thank you. All right, and finally, 8.39, allocation for technician, safety, security. And now we'll move down to Section 9, Superintendent's Human Resources Recommendations. 9.1, Employees on Administrative Leave. 9.2, Deferred Retirement Option Program. 9.3, Request to advertise a public hearing for adoption of a new job description for foreman, fire safety. 9.4, Add a field report for the 2022 through 2023 school year. 9.5, cleared certification requirements and issuance of contracts for the 2022 through 2023 school year. 9.6, employment separations. 9.7, personnel recommendations. 9.8, employee transfers. 9.9, employee suspension. 9.10, employee suspension. 9.11, reinstatement reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical examination. And finally, 9.12, leave without pay. Section 10 is discussion agenda. At this time, there is no items that have been moved from the consent agenda, but anything can happen between now and 6 o'clock on Monday night. So Section 11 is construction program owners representatives business. And Dr. Kelly, I will turn it over to you, ma'am.
We will have our September meeting Monday, the 12th, and that morning, and that evening I'll be glad to give you a complete and thorough update.
Awesome.
So there's a lot of neat things that have happened
A
in the
lot of
last
things
month.
going on.
There is a lot going on.
A lot of dust being announced.
Good stuff.
A lot. 11.2 is, we have 3 items to vote on Monday night, so 11.2 is TPM program number 6, task order number 24, pre-GMP for the Central Administrative Complex renovation Phase 1. So excited to see that.
Yeah.
11.3, program number 6, task order number 25, time and materials task order district-wide stadium repairs. And then finally, 11.4 is program number 6, task order number 26, time and materials task order asbestos abatement of the Central Administrative Complex in Niceville, Florida.
I have a question about asbestos abatement. It's my understanding with asbestos, it's one of two things. You either cover it over or you pull it out, but it's better if you don't have to mess with it, right? And so abatement, are you saying you're going to actually pull the, whatever that has flooring or whatever it is that has asbestos out, or are you just going to do another procedure just to keep it from activated?
We're under an AHERA permit, which is a federal permit for asbestos containment. We're allowed to either encapsulate it and leave it in place and don't disturb it, or remove it. But when we start a construction project, like the central admin project here, what we like to do is go ahead and abate it before we start the construction process, so we won't delay it. And for this building, we only have one opportunity a year to come in here and do it, which is Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So there will be actually nobody here, so we can do the work, and when we come back in January, we'll all be abated and gone, and we'll be ready to start the construction part of this facility.
So, and so is it throughout this building, or just
It's just the flooring.
one area, just the flooring? Okay.
Just the
So
flooring.
that won't be as
No.
intensive as
No,
if there was everything else. So, oh, that's exciting. So once you get that, then we can move forward with some other projects, right?
that's correct.
Yep. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and now we're to Section 12, and we do have an item Monday night, Information Technology Seat Management Contract, 12.1 CACI, Task Order Number 2-203 for Elliott Point Elementary School Portable Cabling.
And again, that's under the COP, right? That cost? Okay, just curious, okay.
And then we're to Section 13, Attorney's Business, Mr. McInnes. I'll
No
turn it over
report
to you.
today, Mr.
No
Chairman.
report, okay. Section 14 is Superintendent's Business, 14.1, Out-of-State Student Trip Request. And Mr. Chambers, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant, School Board. As you know, and we've kind of alluded to it already, there's a lot going on in terms of construction and so forth, different projects occurring throughout the school district. One of the things that we will do, either the next board meeting or the one thereafter, is we're going to give the board an update in terms of all things capital. We want to give you kind of an update of where we were, prior to the half-cent sales tax, the projects that have occurred over the last couple years, where we currently are with projects, and then the projects that are forthcoming. Also want to be able to give you an update on new school construction and kind of the plan. So we will have more of a comprehensive capital update for you at a forthcoming board meeting. Also, yesterday I was fortunate to be at FAMU, located over at the Crestview campus. And one of the things that they're looking at is this is a pharmacy school that has a very successful pass rate, but the enrollment has dwindled the last couple years. So there was a number of community leaders, including Dr. Stevenson over at Northwest Florida State, and basically looking at how can the school district, how can Northwest Florida State, how can eventually even potentially OTC be a means to help this program. When students leave the pharmacy school, in essence what they say, there's a $125,000 job awaiting them. And in our community, many of these students are being hired straight out of this program. So what the preliminary conversations started with, as you know, we have biomedical, we have the nursing program, we have the EMR program, even looking at potentially doing pharmacy tech, creating a pipeline from the high school all the way to the junior college or OTC, and then to this program over at FAMU. To get into the FAMU program, you have to have 2 years of college already under your belt, and then it's a 4-year program after that. So we started the process of talking about it. Representative Maney actually brought folks together to discuss this matter because there's legislative funding that goes to support this school. And of course, if there's legislative funding, you want their enrollment to be what it is. So again, it's an opportunity for our students who are already in these types of programs to have a means to stay here locally if they choose to, and to get into a pharmacy type school. But we're also looking to have conversations of even getting part of our nursing program that we have into their facility where they have a lot of needs, maybe more technology than we do right now. So really trying to look at that partnership. So excited and more things to come on that topic. Enrollment, we're about 250 students up from last year. So we're on track right now for our FTE projections. As you know, Mr. Horton monitors class size at every single school, every single classroom. Our goal, obviously, is to still maintain class size. As you know, there are districts across the state that don't meet class size, and that's something that this board has set a standard to do, so we will be on track to do so. As you know, we could have some classes that are higher than the amount, but we also have classes that are lower than the amount. And it would be nice if kids enrolled in grade levels evenly, but they don't necessarily do that.
It's never happened.
But I do appreciate Mr. Horton and his staff paying attention to these numbers, and of course the principal's doing a great job master scheduling at the school site. I did want Dr. Hale to come up briefly just to kind of share. I know he's sending out daily updates
Question.
where we are on vacancies, but I think he can also give some information to those who might find this interesting as well.
Hi, good morning, and thank you. I have a lot of information. I provide it often to you guys
Yes,
just
thank
via
you.
the
You
email.
do.
And I'm very happy to do that, but there's also some other things that I think that it would be interesting for you to be aware of. I mean, as you've noted in the last couple of weeks as I've been sending the vacancy information to you, you can see that we're holding pretty static with the instructional vacancies. We don't have many vacancies comparatively to districts around us. We've done a really good job. Our principals have done a really good job of hiring, and the staff and HR has done a great job of recruiting to the tune of, and just for your information, I like to tell you just exactly what we've accomplished during the hiring season. Instructionally, we have 267 new instructional hires that we've processed this year, 178 transfers, and we have 12 that are in the queue being processed even today, for a total of 477 instructional new faces and new places. And just for your information, out of those out of the 267 new hires, 6% of them, 6% are first-year education grads. 6%.
Wow.
44% are temporary search. We spoke just briefly earlier today about the increase with Beacon and the PDCP program that we're doing to try to increase our retention for these temporary cert teachers, the ones that are career changers, the ones that come to us with a bachelor's degree but are working on their education components of their certification over the next 3 years. And so that's what that was about. So 44% of that 267 are career changers, first-year teachers. So 50% of the entire transition this summer is a first-year teacher. And so our professional services team is working really hard to not only get them trained up on the pedagogy part, the classroom management, the classroom instruction, the lesson planning. They're also providing them with that unique mentorship through the consulting teacher program. So very busy over in professional services. As far as the support, we've turned over 255 transactions with them. So total new faces and new places in this hiring season, instructional and ed support altogether is 732 bodies.
Wow.
And to have roughly 30 to 35 instructional vacancies after all of that, that's meritorious work by the HR staff and by the principals. I just, I want to continue to let you guys know about that. But the work continues. We have more things that we're doing, especially in the ed support realm right now. We are continuing to utilize our social media to do some targeted marketing to try to fill some of those vacancies. We have Ms. Demers and one of our staff from HR is going to be going out and doing another one of those videos that's always so promotable on social media. We're going to continue to redistribute the one for the community schools, Silver Sands and Richburg, because whenever we do that, we get interest. And so we're going to continue to seek new and innovative ways to continue to fill those vacancies. One thing that I would also mention is that, our substitute person over in HR has been out, and so we kind of rallied our HR team together last week, and we processed 50 new subs just last week alone. Our fill rate for subs over the course of this year to this point has been right between 70 and 75% for both August and September. And so with the addition of these new 50 subs in the system, we feel like that's going to only improve.
And give perspective to that in terms of last year, the fill rate during COVID.
Right. So as you know, we came to you several times during board meetings asking for different innovations, things to do, ways to retain or create opportunities for new subs to come into the system, because we were having fill rates sub 40%. Many times there were fewer people in the building than we had vacancies. Mm-hmm. And so it was yeoman's work done by not only the teachers who had to combine classes, but also some of the support staff that had to step out of their comfort zone and fill classes, whether it be a parapro or even a secretary or somebody like that would step in to fill classes. And so comparatively, we're never where we want to be. 70%, that one would say that there's 30% unfilled. Well, there's also vacancies that are requiring subs and things like that. So 70% compared to sub 40 and oftentimes 20 and 30% fill rates on a daily basis is substantially different. And I would also just kind of characterize that number by the fact that we are also back to our professional development as well. So we are having some purposeful absences that are having a higher fill rate as well. So we're getting back to normal and we're doing things and subs are coming and we're hiring them and work remains to be done, but good things are happening.
That's great. And thank you so much for your continued report. It gives a good perspective each time. And please let your staff there in HR know how much we appreciate their hard work and getting things going, because I have seen a difference already being out, and just in general the atmosphere is different, and that's important to our employees. It's not so much a strain on those that have to cover, and that makes a big difference because ultimately the students suffer when we don't have things covered. So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and may I ask and again, we've said you've done an excellent job in covering these, or getting these positions, but the positions we still need, how are those classes being covered?
Okay, so whenever there's an unfilled substitute, an unfilled substitute job. There's a variety of ways.
Not substitute, but like,
Oh.
it says that we, like
teacher
in
vacancies.
Teacher vacancies.
vacancy. I'm
So
sorry,
we
wasn't
have a
clear.
couple of different things that we do. Usually it has to do with a long-term or extended sub. We have a lot of our substitutes that are actually filling those classes that have degrees or actually former teachers
Mhm.
that have stepped in. And so that's our primary way of
And
doing
we're
that.
hoping they'll stay with us,
Mhm.
maybe.
And then some of the classes, some of the vacancies are not just empty classes, they're combined classes where we would like to separate those back out to create the relief for whatever teacher is having to teach a double load, primarily in like an ESC classroom where,
Right, I've
where
seen
we would
there's
have
several ESC.
a higher population of needy students that we would like to split, and some of those vacancies are filled by that teacher coverage like that. So there's a couple of different ways. The principals have gotten very creative over the last
They
3
have.
years and figured out ways to make a way.
Mhm.
And so that's just two of the main ways.
Like you said, we've really worked the numbers down, but I've been concerned in these classrooms, how these, and again, for our teachers that they have stepped up and they are taking on this extra load. But eventually, we need to look at long-term, and we
Right.
can't just continue with substitutes, changing
Right.
out subs.
And that's why we continue to go out and recruit in
Exactly.
any means we can.
Mhm.
As I said at the last workshop that we were here, I had the privilege of going and kind of promoting the new pathway for veterans and things like that to create new opportunities. So we've been working with the local military groups, both the Hurlburt and the Eglin spouse clubs, and getting in there trying to illustrate different things that they can do, and also maybe they can share some of that information with some of their veteran friends that might be interested in that pathway. Anything that's new and innovative, anything that we can continue to recruit, we're going to. We're not just sitting there letting these vacancies happen. We're continuing to cast our
Right.
bait into the water, because we all know up here that this is the greatest job that there is, and we just have to keep spreading that word as opportunity presents itself, which is what we continue to do.
Would it be a possibility that some of these teachers that have taken on this extra load, that if they would agree, that an assistant was maybe put in there with them or something, so we're not splitting these children? I'm just trying to toss out ideas and.
So a couple things. So one is,
Okay.
as we know, we have a national teacher shortage.
Exactly.
And if you remember the last board meeting workshop, Dr. Hale gave an exhaustive report on
Mhm.
the recruitment efforts that we've done. Now, we do have compensation in place for teachers who take on the extra load, so those type of things are planned for. But to take an aide out of their primary responsibility of what they do, that's more of a principal decision. But for every person that you move, that means something else is not getting done.
And I really wasn't talking about moving somebody out of a current position, if we could, and I know, again, trying to find somebody, but if somebody could be hired.
So of course,
New.
in the classroom assistants is also a shortage.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually our biggest area. That's our biggest area of concern right now, is finding those classroom assistants, which is, like Mr. Chambers said, a critical shortage area. So our paras are really doing a great job where we have them, but the problem is that we don't have enough, and we're continuing to look for them as well. In fact, that's what our social media blast, our focused social media blast for today, literally today, is going to be focusing yet again on the parapros.
Thank you, Dr. Hale.
And Steve, Mr. Horton, my math isn't as good as your math because I'm trying to figure it in my head, but you're talking about new employees. You think about the amount that we have, that's about 15 to 18% of our workforce that's new to the district. That's an incredible amount for any organization, in my opinion, so.
You were transferred.
Yeah, but still, that's a high number there, so.
Yep.
But again, we're fortunate, some of our neighboring counties are not as fortunate as we are when it comes to staff shortages, so. All right, Mr. Chambers?
I appreciate it. As you all know, it's American Founders Month, and our schools will be very busy over the course of this month with different activities. I do want to highlight just a few things. Patriots Day is, as we know, 9/11. We'll have schools that will be honoring that day this Friday and Monday. As you know, 9/11 this week or this year is on a weekend, so we have schools who will be honoring those days. And I know that many of you will be out and about in the schools as well. And then we also have Constitution Day that falls on September 17th, which is a Saturday.
Saturday,
So
yeah.
on the 16th, you'll see many schools who will be doing that. And then celebrate Freedom Week, which is the 26th through the 30th. I'll be excited at the end of the month. We will have a video that will in essence encapsulate all that's happened over the course of this month, but also just the different activities our students have taken place in, even in the past as it pertains to patriotism. So there'll be a lot that will occur, and we're excited to be able to show that over the course of this month and, of course, the video at the end of the month. So stay tuned for that.
Mr. Chambers, on those events, could you either, probably the easiest way, instead of having you have to compile it, could you make sure the principals are aware that board members like to know of those events if we're invited or welcome to come? Because we don't always know till the last minute different places of what they're doing, but this sounds like a lot of events. But if we could have some more specific, like such and such school at 8 o'clock is doing us, that would be great.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily the schools we represent, but just in general, that we might could visit or take part or observe that situation.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
And
you.
if you have a principals meeting, I know a couple of the schools do send us their newsletter, and I really do appreciate that, especially if it's a school outside of my district. So if schools are doing newsletters, if they would just add us to their loop, I do enjoy seeing what's going on, and if something's
Yeah,
upcoming.
we like knowing that.
Absolutely.
So they would add us.
All right, that's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chambers. And now we're to board members' announcements, and I will start with my vice chair, the Honorable Dr. Diane Kelly.
Somehow I had a feeling you were going to come this direction this time. So some of my items have been covered, but I did want to say I truly appreciate the update on the capital projects that you say you're going to continue to give us soon. I'm grateful for a school system who supports the celebration of all things civics and history. As you know, that was one of my degrees, and had taught in government and civics for many years. Thank you, Dr. Hale, for the vacancy updates. And lastly, I'm just so looking forward to getting back into a routine of normalcy, being out and supporting our schools. Thank you.
How many more weeks till Christmas break?
Go ahead and say it, girl. Bring it on out.
I'll have it back for you on Monday. How about that? I'll get back with you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. We always appreciate your input. Ms. Vanchek.
Yes, okay. Well, first of all, I'd want to congratulate Dr. White's not here, but Dr. White and Dr. Kelly for their reelection to this board. And
Same to
it's
you,
a-
Ms. Evangelist.
well, I'm honored, and it's wonderful to work with you as well as Mr. Bryant and Ms. Gardner. And it's a real privilege to be with such professional, caring individuals. I'm glad to be here. A couple of things. Let's talk about the foundation. We have a barbecue and bingo thing coming up in October, but we want to go ahead and sell those tickets, right, Mr. Horton? Yep, and so get them for me, not him, but this is a lot of fun, and it raises money for, we do mini grants for teachers to do things, and so this helps us have some money to do that. It's different things that we do. We also want to welcome Christy Evans, who's come on board with us at the foundation, helping us with our mentoring program, which is back underway, and that's always great. We're doing some great things with the foundation, but mark your calendars and see me if you'd like to have a ticket to that on October 25th.
Mr. Vanchek, real quick on the announcement there, you have a QR code, so if we scan that, we can pay our ticket and everything on that?
Yep.
Is that,
Mhm.
okay? All right.
You won't get credit for it. You just be buying directly from the foundation.
But if you buy the one that I have down here in my purse, then things go better for all of
Who
us.
says we're not competitive enough this time?
Yeah,
No matter what.
Whatever, yeah, whatever. So it's that, yeah, so that's exciting. So, anyway, you have some time, get your money, save your money, so you got it. The other thing is that, I wanted to talk about, and you're gonna love this, a former student of mine. But I had a former student who, his name E.J. Nieves, who came into town. He is a Choctaw grad, and he came into town because Choctaw is looking at their 70th anniversary, and he is a professional artist, lives in Ocala, and he was actually the staff artist for the school newspaper that I advised, so he was on my staff his tenure there at Choctaw, and he just created this beautiful mural in the hallway over the weekend. So he took a long weekend and did that, but it was great that I got to go up and speak with him. But my point being is that it's my understanding, and he spoke to me, but he spoke with the faculty yesterday, and he gives big credit to our school district and the opportunities that he had as a student here for his now success in his profession. And as we all know, sometimes the arts are difficult to make it into a professional situation, but he talked to all the students there and the leadership and explained how he got to where he is. And once again, it's always nice to see those successes of the things that we do. And he credited a lot of different people, you know, his experience on the school newspaper, his art teachers, just his teachers. Now, I got to tell you a funny story that Andy Snaith is the dean there at Choctaw, and we were standing there talking, and I was kidding and saying that, you know, I taught EJ everything he knew about art, which of course I did nothing. But Andy Snaith told me, no, I taught him first because he was in my biology class, and I taught him how to draw a cell. And so he did the best cell drawings that he ever had from a student. So Andy was taking credit. But again, I just wanted to point out that sometimes it takes years. Now, he's been graduated 20 years. So sometimes it takes a while before you see the results of what our schools are doing, what our teachers are doing. It takes that time, but it's out there, and it's another acclamation of the things that we're doing right in Okaloosa County Schools. So I hope everybody sees that and is proud of that. So it was
Very impressive.
It was amazing what he's doing.
I've
And
only seen pictures, but very impressive.
right, if you want to go on to Facebook on the Choctaw website, or Facebook site, you can see pictures of it, but it was exciting. So, and again, I know there's several events for Patriot Day. I know some early things starting tomorrow, and that's exciting. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vanchek. And Ms. Gardner.
I also would like to congratulate, I know Dr. White's not here, but I know he's watching, Dr. White, Dr. Kelly, and Ms. Vanchek,
Thank you.
on your recent victory. And I told y'all often how much I respected your professionalism. No matter how many falsehoods were thrown out there, you stayed above it. You were, and I don't think we can hold our teachers and our students to a certain level if we're not ourselves modeling that behavior. And again, I truly excited that you're back, and respect how you handled yourself and the model that you displayed
Thank you, Ms. Garner.
during that difficult time right there. That's exciting, but what's really, really big is that Fort Walton Beach High School was awarded their A, that I was changed to an A, and I'm just going to add that A+ to it
There you
because
go.
of all of
Take
the
the plus.
activities and everything, that just the whole picture of what's going on there is just outstanding. And John Sposky's little live, he said that you had just called him and he got right on there and he did a live little snippet on, I think it was Facebook or Twitter, one of those about, but congratulations to the students and the teachers. I know it's always hard to receive that A, but especially when you start getting up in those upper grades right there. So I'm so proud of them. As always, Fort Walton Beach High School, the cross-country team, boys placed first and the girls placed second. And on September the 30th, this Military Appreciation Night, they, if you go to the website, there are special T-shirts that they have posted that you can purchase. So we'd like everyone to come out and show their gratitude to these men and women that are serving our country. But I think everything else was covered. Everything else was covered, but thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gardner. And I'll just finish up by pointing out a couple of things here. So I come across Facebook and I noticed that on October 29th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., there's going to be a Hope Squad. So more information, I only just see it just says save the date, but I think that's a good cause. And if you like to play cornhole, it says it's for pro and amateurs. So if you've ever watched ESPN The Ocho, we all joke about that, but there is cornhole on there, and these people are pretty darn awesome. So, but anyways, if you're interested in that. Also, if you see right here, I have a little Bit Wizard foam thing that I received at the Fort Walton Chamber First Breakfast the other day. And I want to give a shout out to Vince Mayfield and his team because they gave a $5,000 to Choctaw High School, the Style Marchers, and to their theater program. So $2,500 a piece. So it was really neat to be there to see that, see them give to the that particular school, but they do so much, not just for Choctaw, but they do a lot for our school
Very
district.
supportive of the school district.
Very supportive, and of course, Mr. Mayfield does sit on our community advisory committee for the half-cent sales tax, so we do appreciate Mr. Mayfield and his staff for all that they do. And finally, yesterday, I happened to be in Niceville for a Rotary meeting, and on my way out, I was heading to Fort Walton Beach. I made a stop at Niceville High School, and just want to give a shout out to Mr. Morello and his team. You know, they're doing an amazing job there, but Mr. Morello, if y'all don't know Mr. Morello, he is probably, like all of our high school principals, you know, very proud of his school, very proud of his community. But I will tell you this, he's just like all the other principals. He's very proud of our school district. And it's just great to go in there and have you know, just a quick conversation with him and see what's going on in the school. So just a quick shout out to Mr. Morello and his team.
And you always say, just, I don't care where you are, he is in the middle of everything. He is truly a hands-on principal that is involved. He does an excellent job. But I just love seeing, I don't care if it's in the middle of cheering on the football players or an academic team, Mr. Morello is definitely always involved and hands-on for sure.
He's definitely that. And
a ball of energy.
yeah, so, you know, of course, you know, the Crestview guy going into the Niceville territory is always interested, but
They asked for 2 IDs for you?
3 IDs, and I did not wear red that day, yesterday. So, but again, you know, we have fun with it, but at the end of the day, we're one county, one school district,
All for one,
and that's
yeah.
what I appreciate when I do go into any of our schools, that we have that mentality that we are one school district and that we all support each other. So, and with that, we'll move down to the 2-minute version of public comment, and then one of our most important meetings, if not our most important meeting of the year, is going to happen on Monday night, and this is for our budget. So 17.1 will be public hearing for adoption of revised School Board Policy 04-048, controlled open enrollment.
I have a question on something that's redlined in that about Purple Star campuses. Could you quickly tell us where we are on that program, please, sir?
So we're in the process right now where each of the schools have their applications, and Mr. Horton is working diligently with them. So each of our schools will be submitting their application to the state. I believe it's by September 30th.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great meeting with the new General Garrity over at Eglin, and he's
good.
now in charge over there. We shared with him our excitement to submit these applications. Many of our schools already do a number of the qualifications to be a Purple Star school, and some will also be adding some initiatives that we do as well. But we're very eager to have that distinction.
So each school is eligible in our district? Every school is
In our
eligible?
county, yes,
In our
ma'am.
county, okay. All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chambers, I just want to say thank you to you and your staff for bridging that relationship with our military. And I know you've, for the last 4 years, have really put a focus on that and, you know, bridging that communication. And it's just great to see our partnership with both Herbert and Eglin flourishing the way it is. So,
Thank you, sir.
yep. So 17.2 will be public hearing for instructional materials adoption for secondary science and career and technical education, reproductive health and disease education. 17.3 is the required local effort millage rate of 3.3300 mils.
And Ms. Perry, our millage rate continues to hold or go down, doesn't it, each year? Thank you.
And most of us should have already received our tax information from Mr. Anderson and his team, and I see mine went down actually, so I'm happy to see that. 17.4, prior period funding adjustment millage rate of 0.0010 mils. 17.5, basic discretionary operating millage rate of 0.7480 mils. 17.6, capital outlay millage rate of 1.5000 mils. 17.7, total millage levy of 5.5790 mils. 17.8, Resolution 22-11, adopting the millage rates for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.9, Okaloosa County School District Budget General Fund for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.10, Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds Food Service for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.11, Okaloosa County District Budget Special Revenue Funds Other Federal Programs Fund 420 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.12, Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds, CARES, Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief, ESSER, Fund 441. And I see Mr. Gore back there, shaking his head. Yep, there's ESSER. And 17.13, Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds, Other CARES Act Relief, including gear, Fund 442 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.14, Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds, CRRSA, Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief 2, ESSER 2, Fund 443 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.15, Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds, Other CRRSA Act Relief, including Gear 2, Fund 444 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.16, Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds, ARP, Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief 3, ESSER 3, Fund 445. 17.17, Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds, Other ARP Act Relief Fund 446 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.18, Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds, Miscellaneous Internal Funds, Fund 490 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.19, Okaloosa County School District Budget Debt Services Funds for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.20, Okaloosa County School District Budget Capital Project Funds for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 17.21, Okaloosa County School District Budget for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. And then finally, 17.22, Resolution 22-12, adopting the Okaloosa County School District Budget for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. And Ms. Perry, again, thank you for your team and all their hard work to get all this together. So
That will be the biggest vote we do right there.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's
So we'll go
a lot.
around.
Thank you.
We'll go around the room. Mr. Butler, Dr. Hale, Ms. Lightborn, Mr. Horton, Ms. Perry. All right, this meeting's adjourned.